మన నేటివ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మోడల్కి సంబంధించి గాంధీ ఆలోచనల పైన ఒక ప్రసంగం ఉండాలి, దానిపైన చర్చ జరగాలన్న ఉద్దేశంతో సొసైటీ ఫర్ చేంజ్ ఇన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ప్రత్యేకంగా ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని నిర్వహిస్తూ ఉన్నది. ప్రొఫెసర్ రమేష్ బాబు గారు అయితే నాకు తెలిసి ఈ అంశం పైన చాలా వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారు. నేను ఒకసారి కాకతీయ యూనివర్సిటీ పిహెచ్డి థీసిస్ అన్నిటినీ చూసే క్రమంలో నాకు ఆ థీసిస్లో ఒకే ఒక్క థీసిస్ నన్ను బాగా అట్రాక్ట్ చేసింది. అది రమేష్ బాబు గారి థీసిస్. అది నాకు తెలిసి, నాకు గుర్తున్నంత మేరకు గాంధీ అండ్ ఫ్రైరీని కంపారిటివ్గా చేస్తున్నటువంటి పిహెచ్డి అనుకుంటాను, ఇఫ్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ రాంగ్. సో మొదటి నుంచి కూడా విద్యా విషయాలపైన ముఖ్యంగా ఉపాధ్యాయ విద్య పైన బాగా వర్క్ చేస్తున్నటువంటి రమేష్ సార్ ప్రసంగం కోసం వచ్చిన అందరికీ మరొకసారి స్వాగతం పలుకుతూ ప్రొఫెసర్ రమేష్ గారిని మాట్లాడాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను.
సో గాంధీ గారి ప్రాతిపదిక విద్య, now it appears to be little more academic because as nobody paid attention to basic education after independence. But still, if we look into Gandhi, what is Gandhi? If I begin from there, Gandhi is a politician par excellence. Fundamentally, he is a politician. Gandhi has economic thought, if we call thought economic thought, and Gandhi is embraced now by environmental and many countries, embraced by the peace movement. Let's Gandhi talk about it. So in Gandhi we find versatility, a strategist, an educationist. One of the political philosophers said Gandhi is an enlightened anarchist. He is enlightened, why he is anarchist but enlightened. And Gandhi is known to Indian people as a freedom fighter. And in fact, we were told in our schools that independence was brought by Gandhi. More than that, I think people of India do not know what Gandhi did. But if we look into Gandhi's own words, what is his contribution to India? He many times said that, and Gandhi is known to Indian freedom struggle and outside the world as a contributor of non-violence in political struggles. But when somebody asked Gandhi, what is your contribution to India and the world? And Gandhi very categorically stated that peace and non-violence were not my contributions. They were there right from ancient India. I just simply applied those peace and non-violence as a techniques in freedom struggle. But the concepts were there like Himalayas in India, right from Buddha. My original contribution to India and to the world, if you consider, is my basic education. All others were borrowed from here and there and applied to political process or economic process. But my educational plan that I have articulated in 1937 is my original contribution to Indian society. So therefore, Gandhi gave much more importance to his educational scheme rather than his political participation. And in fact, Gandhi's education was, in his own words, he said that my education system is meant to bring silent social revolution in India. It is not meant to provide literacy to people or education to people. That is not the purpose of my education. The purpose of my education fundamentally is to bring a silent social revolution in Indian society. So therefore, he visualized a education system which has a radical impact on social organizations. So therefore, his basic education was highly debated during freedom struggle immediately after independence. Even now, whenever we sit to write a curriculum framework for education, particularly if not college education, people debate over the relevance of Gandhi's basic education and how to link Indian education system with the proposals made by Gandhi in basic education. In fact, when NCERT sit to write 2005 National Curriculum Framework document, there was a separate position paper. There was a committee to look into work and education. Because after independence, if we look into at least two commissions, the Secondary Education Commission led by Mudaliar Commission, it talks about work education, vocational education in school, and Kotari Commission at length talks about integration of work with the education, and finally comes out with a proposal that we have to provide work experience in education. And later on, many commissions and committees, they certainly refer to Gandhi when they were formulating educational proposals for school education. But the work and education, the position paper claims that no commission paid adequate attention to translate Gandhian proposals into mainstream educational process. They paid lip service to Gandhi's basic education and they incorporated one or two words and they left the essence of Gandhi's education outside. So what is that essence? If we want to look into that in 45 to 50 minutes, what is that essence? And to that we have, let me go for the brief uh, review of how Gandhi arrived at 1937 basic education proposal. Most of us may be knowing that because in his experiments with truth, that is one of the fundamental books of Gandhi, and he mentions about basic education there also. His experiments in education began in 1904 with the establishment of phonics settlement at Durban in South Africa. And there were many people from Gujarat working in South Africa, particularly area Durban called Durban. And there were 10 to 12 children and Gandhi was not ready to send his own children and the children of his brothers and other relatives to any English medium school. So then he encountered a problem how to educate the children. Originally, that was the beginning to the origin of basic education began from there. And then he thought, why don't I start a school? Not necessarily a school, but an educative process. And the phonic settlement is the first experiments in basic education. And he wrote, and one of his autobiographies, a close person who observed Gandhi, Kaka Kalekar, some 1904,
Yeah, yeah.
and his biographer said that this is the beginning of the origin of basic education. The seeds were sown there. And if you look into the educational process, and Gandhi then defined literacy is not education. And he said work will be the education. And very interestingly, if we don't go into detail, what was there in phonic settlement, there was cobbling is there, carpentry is there, printing was there, and these were the works through which a child was educated in that particular. And this lasted for very some time, and then he shifted to Tolstoy form. That is the second experiment Gandhi conducted in school education, particularly education of the children. And in Tolstoy form also, he tried to integrate not work with education. Let me make it a little clear. Gandhi never tried to integrate work with education. Education means what we study in schools. instead of education, let me call it as work with schooling. And Gandhi, on the contrary, tried to integrate schooling with the work. This is, it's not work with school, but school with the work. I'll ponder over this little later. So these are the two experiments he did in South Africa. And after doing these two experiments, when he came back to India, he went to Champaran, he went to Sabarmati. In his ashrams, he tried to reflect on education. And finally, in 1937, when uh, mm, Bajaj invited Gandhi to establish a ashram in Wardha, and he came there and settled there. Then they conducted a national conference on education. His scheme of basic education. So this is a brief summary how the experiment started in South Africa and culminated in Wardha, that is in Nagpur, near Nagpur now. And apart from these experiments, if we go into Gandhi as a politician, Gandhi always used education as a tool for liberation. Liberation the way he perceived. We may differ with his perception of liberation, but he fundamentally viewed education as a liberator. And if we go back into Indian historical Indian history, right from Vedic education or Upanishadic education to Buddhist education, Jainist education, there is a very interesting continuity in perceiving education as a liberator. Liberation of varied forms, varied kinds. And if you look into Vedic education, Vedic education meant for mukti or moksha. They are a liberation in a spiritual sense. That is a liberation from this material life and getting moksha. And if you go to Buddhist education radically critiqued the Vedic education, but when the purpose of education comes, it also speaks in the language of liberation. And this liberation is not mukti or moksha, but it is the nirvana. And nirvana is also a kind of liberation from desire, from dukkha, from material dukkha. So therefore, very interestingly, the Indian tradition, right from the beginning, particularly in education, they looked at education at least for two purposes. There could be only one, but we can divide it into two. One is the liberation, and the second one is the social transformation begins from individual moral transformation. Across the globe, there are debates, even in 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, how social change, social transformation can be brought. And there are broad two views are there. One is the macro transformation, one is the micro transformation. Where to begin and where to end. Whether first let us focus on the transformation of at system level, then percolate down to individual, or should begin from level, raise to the level of the society. If you begin from individual level and raising to the level of society, we call it as a social transformation from micro to macro. The other one is the macro to micro. So these two theories were there across the globe in strategizing the social transformation. And Indian education system, right from the beginning, somehow believed in social transformation begins from individual and then goes to the hello.
Okay, sir. And
The Western theories more or less believes that social transformation begins at system level and then it percolates down to individual. And when you perceive, when you look at social transformation begins the change in the material processes of the society. When you look at the social transformation at individual level, this process begins with the moral transformation of the individual. So both the transformations are required to have a full-blown social transformation, but where to begin? And Indian tradition, particularly educational tradition, firmly believes that social change without the change of individual morality is not a possibility. So therefore, let us begin social transformation by the individual moral transformation. And individual moral transformation is possible through education. Therefore, they gave primacy to education right from the beginning to bring out the moral or social transformation in a society. And Gandhi, in a way, not in a way, Gandhi fundamentally believes education brings a silent social revolution because the silent social revolution begins with moral transformation of the individuals. If you want to bring a change in the productive forces, then silent social transformation is not possible. Their violence creeps into the transformatory process. When you want to transform the morality of the individuals, there is no question of infusing violence to bring moral transformation. So this is the fundamental premise on which Gandhi operates. So therefore, Gandhi wanted education a fundamental tool to bring moral transformation of the individual. So this is one of the important dimension of the basic education. And if we look into the details of basic education, what were there in basic education? I think in our B.Ed or D.Ed or somewhere else, we have already studied that Gandhi's educational philosophy, if I summarize, has two fundamental components. One component is critique of British education, very comprehensive critique of British education. It's not a peripheral criticism, it is a all through critique. And his critique was labeled as, his critique is not simply critique of education, it is critique of civilization. Fundamental contradiction between Western civilization and Eastern civilization. And therefore, his critique was considered as a civilizational critique. In his all speeches, if you look from 1920 to 1935, wherever he goes, whether Gujarat Vidyapith, in any education institutions, he gives a fundamental call to boycott three things brought by the Britishers. Outright boycott. Historians summarized them three C's. You have to boycott courts established by the Britishers, because the Western style of court is not going to solve the problems of India. So therefore, boycott the courts and boycott the councils brought by the Britishers, the political councils, and boycott the colleges. And wherever he goes, whenever he addressed the students, the basic call is to go out of the college and participate in the freedom struggle. Because as long as you are in the college, you cannot really enjoy the freedom. And therefore, the first part of Gandhi's education is the critique of not only British education, but the Western civilization. And for this, I request everybody to read the Gandhi's, the fundamental book is the Hind Swaraj, which was written during 1908 and 1909, when he was moving from South Africa to England by a ship. In the ship, he drafted the book. And the Hind Swaraj is a manifesto originally. What kind of civilization we wish to create in the future. And in Hind Swaraj, we find a outright critique on Western civilization. if I summarize what are those aspects of Western civilization, he says the Western civilization is thoroughly materialistic.